This bulletin is coming to you live from the Joy 99.7 FM studios here in Kokomlemle at digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country, including ATL FM in Cape Coast, Radio Max in Takrady, and Volta Premier in Hull. It's on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by UMB Bank, UMB Speed App, Digibank, Let's Go. In this edition, scientists and health experts call for localized lockdowns as Ghana's COVID-19 case count nears the 12,000 mark.
I really think we ought to really have on the table again real consideration for the potential of having at least localized lockdowns, localized curfews.
Most of the people came into hospital and died within 72 hours. That agrees with what Nana Kofi is saying, that there's significant community spread.
We'll hear from the Ghana Health Service, which says the situation is under control. Also, as final year tertiary students begin to report to their various campuses amid fears of rising COVID-19 cases, we'll go live to some university grounds for snap checks on observance of safety protocols. Also, in this edition, we get to the Greater Accra Regional Security Council preparing to strategize to enforce President Akufo-Addo's directive for mandatory wearing of face masks. As checks reveal, some people have ditched the wearing of the masks.
The law enforcers, they have to up the game because looking at things, the figures are going up.
Also in sports,
the Ghana Football Association insists plans to restart the Ghana Premier League, a firmly in place despite the ban on contact sports threatening cancellation. More in 20 minutes.
And as we continue our series celebrating some of Ghana's music greats, we throw the spotlight on high life legend Nana Tufo, popularly called 9924, who died earlier today.
And your mommy news a bit to me. I have no mean to be crying my enemy year for until you Bible and exercise me this kind of stuff.
We have more on the life of the Dada hit maker as tributes pouring for the late 60-year-old. All that and more on the midday news with me, Emefa Apawu. Details shortly. And details now. Health experts have raised alarm over the increase in cases of coronavirus recorded in Ghana this month, calling for urgent measures, including localized lockdowns by government to curb the spread. The country's case count now stands at 11,964 with 54 deaths. We'll hear from the health experts who have been proposing some suggestions to address the community spread. But first, listen to President Akufo-Addo as he defends his government's handling of the pandemic during his last night's address.
Understandably, much focus has been placed on the rise in the total number of confirmed cases. As of midnight of 13th June, the total number of positives cumulatively stands at 11,964 out of the 254,331 tests conducted. We have a total of 4,258 patients who are fully recovered. So our scrutiny, in effect, must be on the number of active cases. The number of COVID-19 related deaths, sad though each death is, continues to remain very low, one of the lowest in Africa and the world.
Well, adjunct professor of the School of Global Health, Public Health at New York University, Nana Kofi Kwache, and UK-based pharmacist Kwame Sapong-Asiedu believes more must be done to stem the tide of the increasing numbers the country is recording. They spoke on Joy Prime Morning on the Joy Prime channel.
We need to do public health interventions in the communities that go beyond just testing and tracing, because testing and tracing are efforts to catch up with the virus. We need to slow it down so we make sure that we can actually get our hands around it. And that inherently means we're going to have to consider things like localized lockdowns or curfews or other things that slow the rate of spread. Does that have a cost economically? Yes. But the counterpoint there is, what is the cost of having an economy that in a series of openings and shutdowns, does not give confidence that it's prepared to resume normal life? So I really think we ought to really have on the table again real consideration for the potential of having at least localized lockdowns, localized curfews, that we have specific, programs and protocols in place for the hotspots, because we really cannot actually continue with a trend of cases like this.
If you go onto the Ghana Health Service website and you go to all updates, they give you a chronology of some of the deaths. And if you go back to verse 29 and start reading up, most of the people came into hospital and died within 72 hours, most of them within 48 hours. That agrees with what Nana Kofi is saying, that there's significant community spread. And in actual fact, it gives a cause for concern because it means that the people are not also coming in early.
You heard the adjunct professor of the School of Global Public Health at the New York University, Nana Kofi Kwachi, and of course a UK-based pharmacist, Kwame Sapong Isiedu. But Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, however, says the data suggests a different approach.
Most of our cases have been sporadic spikes, and if you are following the update that we are typed on the all update, you see district-specific areas. For example, you can have an increase in the whole of Western region. You have an increase in Tapan Suaim and Secondary Takradi. And we know specifically which institutions have outbreaks that create that large number. Out of that number, you have people who report sick because of the numbers are huge. There are either you can lock down, but also an enhanced contact tracing, the large number of contact tracing, and quickly isolation has worked a lot of the time. It works in Tema, it works in Ohuasi, and it works in other places like CBN. So those options too are there. And lockdown has its own side to it. There's the social aspect, the social economic aspect, and so you need a good balance. And so when we can use very rapid public health measures to address them, probably that will be the first option.
That's the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje. Well, speaking of community spread, the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana, NALAC, has blamed lack of proper coordination between the District Health Directorate and the assemblies for government's inability to effectively fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. President of NALAC, Bismarck Basi Inkum, said the pandemic has negatively affected revenue mobilization of the assemblies, which needs the support of the central government to effectively function. He was addressing the press after touring the entire 260 assemblies to ascertain challenges hindering the fight of COVID-19.
NALAC is calling on the public health emergency committees in the various MMDAs to liaise more with assembly members in the various communities in order to have easy engagement with the communities. This we expect will enhance inclusivity and promote comprehensive front for the fight against the pandemic. 3. NALAC suggests that the Ghana Health Service staff should work hand in hand with the assembly members whenever they want to enter the communities, either to educate or to do contact tracing of a suspected case. This will ensure that the unfortunate incident of suspected persons refusing to cooperate is reduced or avoided. That we are also asking the National Commission for Civic Education and the Information Service Department to intensify education and sensitizations in our localities. 5. That assembly members and unit committee members should liaise with chiefs, security and health personnel to deal with non-compliance to the protocols. And 6. Religious organizations are entreated to use their various platforms to educate their members on the pandemic and urge them to adhere to enhance personal hygiene and social distancing protocols while washing their hands under running water and using alcohol-based hand sanitizers. It is our considered view that the above, when ensured, will complement central government's effort to curb the spread. The fight can be won at the local level.
That's the president of NALAC, Bismarck Basie Inkum. Now, a family of a COVID-19 patient in Kumasi fears of potential cross-infection after he was compelled to self-isolate at home because designated isolation centers are full. The patient was reportedly referred from Suntreso Hospital to Kumasi South Hospital, only to be told the isolation center could not accommodate him. His wife has been speaking with Love FM's David Akwete.
And they told us to take him to Asunci Hospital South. Upon reaching there, we went to normal hospital, and then they took his vitals. After taking his vitals, the doctor said we should wait for a while, and then she made a call, and then she came to inform us that the place was full, and then we should go back to South Suntreso Hospital.
Did you go back to Suntreso Hospital? And
no, we couldn't go there. We called them that they are saying the place is full, and they were also saying that they cannot admit us there.
In all this, you were not in any ambulance. How were you moving to and fro?
We are having our own car.
So would you say that your home is conducive enough for him to isolate and receive treatment?
Actually, I would say no, because we have kids here, and then it's a large family.
So how are you coping under the circumstances?
We've given him one room. I am the one taking care of him.
And do you have any protective clothing, as you attend to him?
No, I only use the face mask.
Well, the medical superintendent at Suntreso Hospital, Dr. Thomas Ejakupoku, will not comment on the specific issue, but indicate circumstances under which a patient will be referred.
Now, the protocol is said that if you are not critically ill, seriously ill, you will not be admitted to this treatment center. Once you test positive, it doesn't mean that we should send you there. If we refer you to Kumasi South or Kompanoche, it means that you need treatment. We keep on telling people that our life is in our own hands. Our system is not robust enough to accommodate all. It is a serious issue. We are dealing with a critical issue, and it must be taken serious. Because if this man came back to the central hospital, it means that wherever you put him, you can't put anybody there. Some of them can self-isolate in their own homes. The team will be contacting you virtually every day. You have some are given thermometers, even to check their own temperature. Some people will then visit the hospital again, this time presenting themselves as new cases, and they will not inform us. In some of these cases, we need to go through. After staying with the patient for about 30 minutes, come to him, then we detect that he knows that he's already positive. And he will not say. He will come and say that I have asthma. And then you struggle. You see, we are at risk that you know that you've been tested positive and you've been asked to self-isolate and you are doing. Next time when you are sick, please let us know.
That's the medical superintendent at Suntreso Hospital, Dr. Thomas Ejakupoku. Then now we turn our attention to education, because some final year tertiary students have begun arriving at their various campuses to complete the academic year, which came to a halt as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak in Ghana. As announced by the president, various logistics, including reusable masks, litters of sanitizers and soaps, Veronica buckets, among others, have been provided to ease the spread of the virus as part of the implementation of phase 1 of the easing of restrictions. Our reporters have been monitoring the situation on the various campuses. We start from the University of Ghana, where some concerns are being expressed by students. PSA Nanaya Osafo is there. He joins us live. So, PSA, what are the concerns of these students and what exactly have they been telling you?
Yes, so Emefa, very few of the schools found on campus were actually final year students here. It appears most of them have resorted to online academic work from home. Those that were found, though, hardly had their nose mask on as they read and engaged in brief discussions. When we confronted or asked them about why they had failed to regard the directive, they cited discomfort mainly.
Okay, we can say that due to the risk involved in the COVID-19, you can't tell who is having it or who is not. Most students prefer to be at home and write instead of coming to campus.
Why did you decide to?
Okay, I personally came here because I want a good internet and I have less hours to finish my exams, which I can't take the risk of being at home.
But let's come to you, Susie. The most important question on people's minds at the moment, do you feel safe with your studies here?
No, we don't really feel safe because we don't know the status of each and everybody we would encounter here. But then we will try as much as possible to put the safety protocols into place so that at least we might feel a little bit safe, but we are not really safe.
It's like, help me. Yeah, I have no nose mask on.
So we can see no authorities come around to check whether nose mask enforcement and others are done?
No, please.
My colleague PSC and I are for interacting with some students of the University of Ghana, Legon here in Accra. We head to the Central Region now, where my colleague Richard Kojunyako has been monitoring events on the campuses there as well. So, Richard, what did you find when you went there?
Well, so as early as 6:30, some of the students started arriving on the campus of the university. I have visited about 6 halls, and then the students have not been allowed access into the halls. They want to orient them first on how to behave on campus before they are allowed into the hall. So now they have the hand washing basin and then other hand washing items there for them to wash their hands. They are going to be placed 2 in a room. The university authorities have also scheduled that for a 2-day period they are going to orient them, and after that tutorials, revision and examination would start. But the students are yet to be given the face masks and other things. But I presume that after the orientation, they would be given those things. They are not going to be allowed the opportunity to have check services and other mass gatherings, as well as not wearing masks before they enter into the various halls of residence, as well as the academic lectures yet.
Well, we've been hearing from students, but what's the talk among the lecturers, though?
Well, the lecturers say that, well, they have been lecturing using the online approach, and so some of them are going to even stick to the online approach. They have the Wi-Fi system in place at the university, and most of the lectures are going to be online. But basically, it is only tutorials that they are going to have, and so the lectures are cool. But they are also praying that the social distancing and the protocols that have been set out by the university will be strictly adhered to, so that they don't compromise the situation here.
That's our Central Regional Correspondent Richard Kojunyako. Well, in Kumasi, out of the 13,000 final year students expected on campus at the KNUST, only 1,500 have been allowed to return. My colleague Erastus Asaridonko has been interacting with some students.
What's your name?
My name is Owusu Felix Ejapon.
So which year is that?
Final year, 5th year.
And which course?
Veterinary medicine.
Veterinary medicine. So you are yet to register?
Yes.
Why are you still waiting?
Okay, I just came in this morning, and I'm waiting to be screened by the medical personnel before I can get a chance to enter, and I'll be allocated a room. So that's why I'm waiting.
So they are not in yet?
They are not to take.
How are you feeling with all this, the reopening and all these protocols in the midst of studying? How are you coping?
It's really uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable, but there's nothing we can do.
Now, at the University for Development Studies in the Northern Region, surveillance has been stepped up at unapproved entries to the campuses to ensure the COVID-19 protocols are observed. Registrar of the UDS, Dr. ABT Zakaria, who disclosed this, said the campus has about 12 routes beside the main entrance to the campus. He asked the university is accommodating 1 student in a room.
Yeah, they leave 1 in a room, and we think that that's okay for them, provided they obey the protocols outside campus and when they come onto campus. But we also have information that some of them leave 2 each in a room. In that case, we have decided that we'll pick those who leave 2 in a room. We'll pick 1 student each, and then we'll bring them to the campus where they will stay in the hostels.
Now, some of the students who spoke to Joy News were concerned about the low level of compliance with the wearing of face masks.
I'm not really excited because the number is so increasing. My children are at home, I have to leave them and come here and come and stay here. But when we got here, we got in town, we realized that the protocol of wearing the mask is not ongoing. Yeah, they think the COVID does not exist. That's what they see. That's what they think.
So you feel threatened?
Yeah, you feel threatened. And if you are putting them on the mask, they won't even look at you. So I feel you are bringing the COVID here.
Some students of the University of Development Studies interacting with my colleague Martina Bugri. Meanwhile, President of the University Teachers Association of Ghana and the National Union of Ghana Students President have been telling Roland Walker the need for school authorities to observe and also monitor all protocols needed to prevent a spread of COVID-19 on campus. They spoke on the AM show.
Students in the university alone, we have about 400. It's quite enough to say that everybody should be tested. And the assurances we have is that, yes, over time, this thing may be considered or may be done. But in the meantime, yes, we are going to have the thermometer guns and other things. And then, of course, constant monitoring to ensure that at least if somebody shows any signs and symptoms, we can easily pick up that person from the masses. But as much as possible, we also have assurances that the protocols are going to be observed.
Management is following up with the
directives given by the state, and that is the Ministry of Health and the other analogous institutions. And so I've seen some of these protocols being put in place, hoping that they will not embigger themselves and the election community.
This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Our top story: scientists and health experts call for localized lockdowns as Ghana's COVID-19 case count nears the 12,000 mark. Still to come, Greater Accra Regional Security Council prepares to strategize to enforce President Emefa Apawu's directive for mandatory wearing of face masks as checks reveal some people have ditched the wearing of the mask.
The law enforcers, they have to up the game because look at things, the figures are going up.
And as we continue our series celebrating some of Ghana's music greats, we throw the spotlight on high life legend Nana Tufo, popularly called 9924, who died earlier today.
Hamupi and any mammy names a bit to me. I have no mean to me crying on my yarn.
And it's time for sports. George Ado Jr. is here.
And I like the look and I like the voice. So much excitement. You have to take the key from the producer at times. It's very, very important. So let's talk about the Ghana football and then talk about Ghana Premier League, because the GFA Communications Director, Henry Asante, says the 2019-2020 league season will be cancelled only when it becomes virtually impossible to kick a ball. The season has been on break since March 15 following the ban on contact sports, and a resumption would only be considered on the 31st of July in line with government's directives. Pundits and some club administrators are pushing for cancellation, but the country's football governing body is adamant.
It's not as though the FA is bent on continuing the season. It is not just a one-man decision. There are stakeholders in this. The stakeholders include our partners. The stakeholders include our sponsors. The stakeholders ultimately include the clubs. The Executive Council has the powers to either truncate, cancel, or at the moment suspend the season. 3 weeks ago when they met, they decided to hold on. So we issued a statement that the season is still suspended, and then the decision was that we will continue our engagement with government until such a time when we all know that it will be virtually impossible to kick the round ladder. Now, they give themselves up until the end of June. I'm sure they will meet on the 30th, and everything considered, they will make a formal announcement by June 30th. We just have to wait patiently.
Henry Asante is GFA Communications Director, and just as he mentioned there, 30th of June will be the date for the Ghana Football Association to decide the Ghana Premier League's future. We have Sports Track at 1:15 p.m. to join us. That's your sport.
It's locked on. Thank you very much, George, for sports. Now, the Greater Accra Regional Security Council is preparing a strategy to enforce President Emefa Apawu's directive for mandatory wearing of face masks. As checks by Joy News reveal, some people have ditched the wearing of the mask. Others failed to wear it properly as mandated by health officials. The few observing the nose mask protocols are worried and demanding city authorities ramp up enforcement. Listen.
When the case started, everybody was following the steps, and we're all putting on the necessary steps. Let's say nose masks and other things. But it got to a time, the general public, all of us, we lose so relaxed. And I think the law enforcers, they have to up the game, because looking at things, the figures are going up.
So in his address last night, the president warned persons who fail to wear a face mask in public would be in violation of the new executive instrument and face possible prosecution.
All Ghanaians must remember that the wearing of masks is now mandatory. Leaving our homes without a face mask or face covering on is an offense. The police have been instructed to enforce this directive, which is the subject of an executive instrument.
Now, Ishmael Ashite is the Greater Accra Regional Minister and head of the Regional Security Council. He joins me with some answers. Well, we're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So the president, we just heard him, in his last address was emphatic that the police will be tasked to ensure adherence to the directive on wearing face masks. You are head of RegSec. Why is the police not out there?
Yes, you said the police will be directed. I spoke to one of your colleagues this morning. Tomorrow, we are having a regional security council meeting to all of us. When I say all the security agencies will be there for us to look at the way to go. You see, sometimes you see the police engage somewhere else, and then you have to bring them to do some other work, and all this need coordination. So I was even saying that we should have waited for till tomorrow when we have actually had our meeting and then have taken specific actions. Then I can talk, but it came that I should respond to that. But we are going to meet tomorrow, and I think from tomorrow going, you will see the police out there.
We're grateful for your time. That's Ishmael Ashite is the Greater Accra Regional Minister. Now, Ghana's capital of Accra may have some of the best tarred roads in the country, but it's also a fact that the city has got some of the worst potholes, from the deep gullies on the stretch from Kaneshi to Odoko to the scattered trenches at Sakumono. There are potholes everywhere. In a special project by Joy News photographer Samuel Moore took shots of the potholes. The photos have been published on our news portal myjoyonline.com. But Joy News editor Fifi Kumsen has seen them.
In one of the photos taken at a spot right before the first traffic light from Kanishi, you see these big gullies scattered across the outer and middle lanes of the road. At Dansuman Hansonic, the situation is even worse there. In the photos you see that the gullies are so deep that portion of the road has been blocked with car tires. Now remember, this is a principal road here in Accra. Now let's go to Sakumono. The situation is not any different. There's this deep pothole that literally swallows your car tire. And in the pictures you see how the tires of the vehicles are splashing water after hitting the potholes. Now if you use the Spintex Road, I'm sure the stretch from Papaya to Flower Pot is very familiar. The potholes are terrible. Someone more captured several potholes, and one of them looked like a swimming pool. At Domi, the situation is not any different. Big gullies, trenches, and pools of water everywhere.
Now, that's the situation in Accra, but elsewhere at Tatale in the northern region, residents staged a protest over the Abad Road. Spokesperson of the concerned youth of Tatale, Felix Kwame Majiwuno, says although the Tatale Sangule Road was captured in the 2018 budget, is yet to be built. Now, the Electoral Commission says it has no plans for Ghanaians stranded abroad as it prepares to begin the voter registration exercise on June 30. The Commission's decision to go ahead with the compilation of a new electoral roll has generated controversy, with the NDC vehemently opposed to it. The opposition party argues many will be disenfranchised as a result. As a result of the closure of the border due to COVID-19, though, many Ghanaians are stranded abroad. But Director of the Electoral Services, Dr. Strebo Kweku, says the EC has no decision on that.
We don't know when the borders will open, but this exercise is going to continue to the last person who will make himself available to be registered. We are going to use no less than 38 days. So if the people will come to Ghana within the 38 days, then they will be covered. Other than that, the Commission will have to take a decision.
That's Dr. Strebo Kweku, head of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, speaking on Beyond the Lockdown show last night. And tributes have begun pouring in for the late Ghanaian highlife legend Nana Tufo, who died today after a short illness. Close friends and family sources who confirm news of the passing of Mayere Dada hitmaker have been left devastated. As we continue our series celebrating some of Ghana's music greats, we threw the spotlight on the career of a man nicknamed 9924.
What can we say of a man who has for more than 3 decades done just what makes him happy? Music. The grace of God has been sufficient for me. My career has been successful only by the grace of God.
Exercise me, this kind of stuff.
Legendary high life singer and songwriter Nana Tufo, popularly called 9924, kicked off what has become recognized as an illustrious music career when he joined 1,000. Sometimes you'd go out to play with the band and return late at night when they are asleep because you dread coming home to meet them while they are awake.
And this time, brepa.
But with time, they got to understand my dream and accepted me.
Just a Jata,
later became the frontman for the Waza Africa band, and like some of his compatriots at the time, he ventured into the Nigerian market and worked with famous Nigerian musician King Sani Ade as his keyboardist. In 1979, 9924 released his first album, High Life Romance, which will be followed by more than 20 others, including Popular Abeku, released in 2003. Some believe his unique birth dates coinciding with Valentine's Day set him up for a rather glittering career, leaving his footprints on the sands of time.
And that's the story of Nana Tufo. We call him 9924. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Dr. Mental Tabo has the living word.